the country was not ready, or the businesses were not ready to take up the Data Protection Act requirements.
Right.
So I think she can. Do you wish to add to that?
Of course.
Yes. So certainly, even prior to the enactment of the Data Protection Act, there were some discussions already in the country with in the business sector and even in government as well, to make sure that we do as much as we can to protect our customer data, even before the enactment of the Data Protection Act. As Mr. Menyatso has already mentioned, that we kept seeing the changes in the dates of the enactment of the Data Protection Act. So what we then did, as Botswana Institute of Banking and Finance, we decided to be proactive last year, because if you recall that the Data Protection Act came into place in January of this year.
Yeah.
So what we then decided to do as an education institute, looking at the interests of the financial services sector, which is, as we understand, that is the biggest contributor to the economy and the one that also handles a lot of sensitive customer data. So we were proactive last year in December, and we hosted the first data protection conference in the country. And at the time, we were talking to how we can ready ourselves as a country, such that by the time the Act is in place, we have done a lot of groundwork across the different industries to make sure that by the time comes in January 2025, we have done all the groundwork as much as we can to make sure that we come as close to complying to the Data Protection Act as much as possible. So this is the sequel, as Mr. Menyatso has already indicated. It's the second data protection conference we are having, and it's the one that's happening in October. Yes.
Right, and on the end of fostering growth and business development, right, I want us first to understand why it is so critical and why it is so important that companies, that businesses comply to this act.
Well, I think one of the most important things that we need to understand as businesses and as any other entity is to understand that we are living in an era where data is the currency. Yes, is the business currency currently.
Sure.
And the issue of privacy is a universal matter. And it is very important that Botswana, everybody who is doing business in Botswana, is very much aware of the requirements regarding data protection or data privacy and the consequences therein, so that we can align ourselves with the international community. Because otherwise, if you operate in an environment where you are expected to comply and you are not in a position to follow the regulations, the chances are that your businesses and customer trust could be eroded.
Oh no, certainly. What I wanted to add as well is that the theme for this year's conference, it speaks to closing the compliance gap, because we appreciate that there may be some gaps in terms of the countrywide compliance to the Data Protection Act. So this is where we're speaking to compliance. So this is why we're speaking to closing the compliance gap. This is why we're talking to collaborative partnerships, both in government, state-owned entities, the private sector. We're talking to financial services. We're talking to healthcare. We're speaking to the real estate. We're talking to academia, really across the different entities, so that we all join hands and say, what can we do to make sure that we all comply as a country? Because we understand that we exist in collaboration with other countries as well. If you want to attract foreign investment, I think you've already indicated, how do we future-proof our country? How do we make sure that we continue to do business with the other countries? We need to ensure that the other countries also trust what we do. They also need to trust that we have the right regulations in place and we comply to data privacy principles, not just here in the country, but across the world as well.
We stand a lot to gain as a nation. Our economy stands to gain a lot with us closing this gap that does exist when we talk about, when we talk about compliance to the Data Protection Act and what it entails as a whole, I'd like for us to maybe just ponder a little bit more on this year's theme and, what participants and stakeholders that will be in attendance coming to the table to discuss all that needs to be discussed will also stand to benefit from it.
Yeah, we should most probably appreciate the fact that the Data Protection Act and data protection in general transcends all economic sectors. So we have cast our net as net as wide as possible. So to the extent that we are not necessarily on this this conference focusing on any specific economic sector,
right?
But we are saying that because it impacts us equally, and we all have responsibility to make sure that we protect the privacy of our customers, the privacy of individuals. Therefore, it is very important to bring the different stakeholders together to look into how best they could actually collaborate to ensure that the data protection principles or requirements are particularly followed within the entire or the broader economic sector.
Right. If you could just right there, Mrs. Nage, just go ahead and explain to us some of the, more of what will be taken away from this conference. We spoke of partnerships as well and collaborations and, maybe just also cement on that point.
Okay. So we're looking to talk a lot more on the practical tools that the different companies can use to make sure that they comply to the Data Protection Act. We're looking to, or rather we'll be speaking also to sharing best practice across the region, because we will be having our Data Protection Commissioner here in Botswana. And we're looking to have other regional information regulators, other regional data protection commissioners as well. So that, because we understand that they have walked this walk before us. They started this journey before us. So this is an opportunity for them to come here to the country to share what they have done, so that we learn from them as well and say this is what we can do as a country, to ensure that we all comply as a data as the country. We're looking also to have tailored strategies in terms of what we can do as a country across the different sectors to comply to data protection. And the other thing that we're bringing that's new, that wasn't there last year, we're bringing in the regulators. Because we have different regulators, who we will be bringing to then come and say what is their mandate, because we understand that they have a dual mandate to make sure that their entities comply across the different pieces of legislation, but also to ensure that they encourage innovation. We don't want a situation where compliance then stifles innovation. So that is what we will be looking at as well. We will be bringing the academia, as I've indicated, because they also hold a lot of customer data. Healthcare, in the healthcare sector, we hold a lot of sensitive patient information. And when we speak healthcare, we're not only referring to the clinicians, the pharmacists, the pathology labs. When you're going to do an X-ray, when you go to draw blood, you are giving your sensitive information. So how is your information secure? How is it stored? So these are the different industries that we will be talking to. The retail sector, we always have like a lot of loyalty cards. We give our personal information there. So how do we ensure that our customers' information is secure? So as you can see, we are really cutting across the different sectors of the economy.
Yeah, and just wrapping up our conversation, how can businesses or professionals register to participate at this year's conference?
Okay, so there's various ways that the individuals or even the companies can participate in the conference. They can come in as sponsors or partners, because we actually consider those as partners. So they can come in to partner with us in this conference. They can advertise their materials or their products and services at this conference. They can come and exhibit at this conference, or they can buy the tickets to come and be a part of this conversation, learn from the different, network with the different industry leaders, so that we share best practice, we learn from them as to how we can comply as a country. Our tickets are going for 5,000 pula per individual, and the different companies or individuals, they can contact us via our email line on inquiries at bibf.ac.bw, and we're also available on various social media platforms, Botswana Institute of Banking and Finance.
Of course. Well, that is all the time that we did have, but thank you so much for joining us this afternoon.
Thank you
so much.
Thank you so much.
Thank you for having us.
Of course. Well, there we have it. That was the BIBF Managing Director, Mr. Molaodi Menyatso, and BIBF Business Development Marketing and Partnership Manager, Ms. Leene Nage, on the topic of the upcoming conference that will be held right here in Gaborone on October the 9th to the 10th, where stakeholders, different stakeholders will come to the table to talk about issues of data protection, and this comes at quite an opportune time when we see a lot of digitization happening within our country and even beyond. Stay tuned for the news at the top of the hour.
Welcome to Botswana Television Studios, where your concept becomes a reality. Looking for the ideal setting to bring your ideas to life? BTV Studios 2 to 4 are available for hire with cutting-edge facilities that meet international standards. Join us on our morning show and news channel for paid interviews that will promote your services and products to a larger audience.